Thank you so much for coming back to yet another Dabbling in Drag. The last time you saw me, we were getting creative and taking a trip through the decades as we recreated or made up our own promo shoot for All Stars 5. This was such a fun day, and if you ever are in Indianapolis, I highly recommend staying at the Bottle Wars Hotel. The vibes were immaculate and the photos and video were so beautiful. It was awesome to be in a space that was like authentically from that time and preserved. We are getting so close to being current with the Drag Race promos, and I cannot believe that we are already at the promo shoot for season 13. The prompt for this was pastel pinup. Everyone was in this select color palette, the background was complementary pastel colors. Some people definitely leaned more into the pinup than others, but it was great to see everybody showcase their own unique style. And the unique graphics for these were so fun and playful. It definitely had this retro, postmodern quality to it. So tell me why when I heard the theme pastel pinup, my brain immediately said, you should be an alien rocket girl. That was where my brain went with pinup. So we're gonna do it. This isn't the first time we've been an alien with some colorful skin, and it won't be the last. My look today is gonna be this sort of like 60s Star Trek babe. I'm so inspired by the makeup artistry and fashions that came out of the original Star Trek. They were really pushing the boundaries and exploring creative makeup in a way that felt appropriate for this sci-fi epic. And now is sort of commonplace for makeup artists to explore these big bold shapes and colors. Giving you a little bit Star Trek, a little bit Barbarella, maybe a little bit Vegas in space, if you know you know. Overall giving you a whole lot of mist. So with that, let's go ahead and shave this beard. Alright, we are trimmed. I'm doing this new thing where I don't like do a full shave until I am ready to do my skin and foundation. It has just helped my makeup last so much longer because this stubble starts to come in like 5 hours, which is nuts and not great for drag. To get things started, let's go ahead and block out these brows. Our brows are blocked and we are gonna pop in some fun contacts from TTDI. Contacts are in, haven't put contacts in for a while. Whew, that was a struggle. I'm gonna go off camera to do one eye and I'll be right back to show you how I did it. One eye done and we are feeling glamorous. I can't wait to show you how I did it. Because I know our skin tone is going to be an inhuman color, rather than tapping Maybelline Superstay Foundation all over my eye space like I normally do to act as a base, I'm just going in with Clown White because it's going to blend out better when we go in with the rest of our foundation. When using any cream makeup, it's important to give it time to warm up to your skin tone. It's going to make it blend so much better. Otherwise it can move or pull up or smear the makeup that you have going on. The Antennae Clown White cream, sometimes more than other creams, feels like way too sticky, so I'm actually going to take it down just a little bit with some of my Antennae powder. First, I want to sketch out the shape of an eyebrow. I really wanted to go for this sort of like Vulcan angular shape, so I'm dipping into my purple Lumiere cream from Antennae and sketching out a rough triangle. And I'm filling that in and keeping it a little bit lighter towards the middle. Next, I'm just taking a little bit of my Antennae Clown White and cleaning it up. I realized I made this just a little bit longer and more lifted than my other one, so I'm going to correct that. I'm going to take a little bit more of my powder and just tap that over it. Even though I typically go back in later to define the eyebrows and really sharpen them and darken them, I'm going to go ahead and tap some eyeshadow on it so I can see the pigment. I'm starting off with the shades Gemini and Cancer from my BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette and moving from a light pastel purple into a little bit more saturated one. And then using my Prados Beauty palette, I'm dipping into some of their darker purple shades to create a little bit more depth on the tail end of this brow. And now that we've overblended, we can go ahead and clean it up one more time. To start to shape out my eye socket, I'm going in with sort of a light blue shade from my Prados Beauty palette, and I'm going to lightly sketch out the shape of my crease and how that comes down the bridge of my nose. This is basically acting as a transition shade just to give me a rough roadmap. Next, I'm going into my Flower Child palette by Max Up the Makeup, and with a fluffy brush, I'm tapping the shade Festival all over that line that we just created to start to really blend out the line and get a better idea of my eye shape. Jumping back to my Prados Beauty palette, we're going to come back to her a lot. I'm going in with that darkest purple shade and going back over the shape of the crease and under the eye. As the pigment starts to decrease on my brush, you can see I'm using that to help blend the colors together before we go back in with that blue transition shade. Back to the blue. I'm tapping this halfway over the purple lines and kind of working my way up into the teal, and I'll be blending back and forth to get a nice smooth transition. Taking a little bit of white body paint, I'm just going to clean up the shape of that crease. Diving back into our Zodiac palette, I'm going in with Aries, and I'm lightly sketching out the shape of my liner before I actually go in with liner. The alien women in Star Trek typically had very, very cool makeup, and because of the time period they were often doing these graphic liners, but they were done in a way that was exploratory and adventurous at the time, and it made makeup fun, and I'm trying to capture a little bit of that here, if not just in the shape of my liner. And my trick for finding the right shape, especially on my eye, which is a little bit more recessed, you can see I'm trying to line up the shape of my wing when my eyes are open with where my liner is going to come across my natural lid. Because we're totally reshaping our eye, this is super helpful, but even in everyday makeup, you can use this type of technique on a little bit smaller scale. Going into my Flower Child palette again, I'm using the shade Thrifting, which is a very dark teal, and I'm creating a transition shade that I'm going to buff over this line. And then without adding a lot more pigment, I'm picking up the fluffy brush that had Festival on it and using that to blend this color into the white. Any areas that need a bit more deepening, I'm going back in with that Thrifting color and the Black Aries shade to create a really nice smooth transition. With our colors mostly blended, I'm going in with my Haus Labs Black Liquid Liner, and I'm going to really sharpen this up and fill everything in. With the liner mostly on, I'm going under my waterline with a little bit of white cream just to open that space up a little bit. At the end, we'll go in with some baby lashes, but I'm going back in with my Haus Labs liquid eyeliner, and I'm just trying a few kind of twiggy mod 60s under eyelashes. With those drawn on, I'm going back in the under eye and just sort of redefining some of those colors. With that, the eyes are done. We're gonna go ahead and set this face, prep our skin, and I'll be right back to get into the foundation. Skin is prepped, we are ready for foundation. Since it often takes its sweet time warming up against my skin, I'm taking some Ben Nye Clown White and tapping it on what will be the high points of my face. Taking the beauty blender I've been using, I'm just going to blend that together. Feeling very Joker right now, so we're gonna change that. While our white is still nice and creamy, I've mixed together some blue and green shades from my Ben Nye Lumiere cream palette, and I've mixed them together to create a nice aquamarine seafoam color. I'm gonna place these in the contour and start to marry these colors together, so overall we get a nice minty seafoam base. I'm gonna start blending with my finger, and then to take away any marks, I'll go back in with that beauty blender. After blending it together, I lost a little bit of highlight, so I'm going back in with some white to brighten some areas up. With my foundation on and blended, I'm going to go ahead and put a liberal amount of setting powder on this. Phew! Let's get into the contour. With our Flower Child Max Up the Makeup palette, I'm dipping into the shade Festival to start to act as a transition shade between our foundation color and our contour. Dipping into my Ben Nye Lumiere Grand Color eyeshadow palette, I'm going in with the shade Turquoise to start to contour the cheeks and the temples of the face. I'm taking that shade Thrifting and I'm going back in and deepening some of the contours. Lovely, now for blush. I'm going to start back in with that light blue transition shade from Prados Beauty and start to work that around the nose and onto the cheeks. I'm going to dip a little bit into my purple shade from Prados Beauty and start to build that in the corners just to add a little bit more warmth and color to the blush. Starting to come together, I want to go ahead and throw on a lip before I get into highlight and cleaning up some of the details. Using the same purple cream Lumiere shade that I grabbed earlier for my eyebrows, I'm going to sketch out the rough shape of my lips. The lips are looking good. I'm going to go off camera to clean up some of the lines and colors that maybe got a little faded away, add some finishing details, some highlighter, but while I'm doing all that, I'm going to show you some antennae that I'm wearing and how I painted these prosthetics.
Oh my gosh, look at these cute antennae. I got them from RBFX Studio and we are going to jump right in. If you've followed my channel for a while, you've seen plenty of videos on how to apply prosthetics, so you're probably familiar that I am prepping this for paint by covering it with a layer of Prosade. After the Prosthetic dries clear, it is sealed and we need to set it with powder. Any powder will do, and use a brush you don't really care about. Jumping into the paint, I'm using a body paint and basing this out with some colors from Krylon. For more realistic paint jobs, you're going to want to mix several washes of color and maybe even fleck on some detail to make more realistic skin. But I'm just going to go in for more solid tones and mix in these 2 shades from my Ben Nye aqua colors as well. This is going to give me just enough depth and dimension to these antennae that they look interesting, but not add too much texture since this is a beauty makeup happening on my face. After the colors are painted, set all of that, and these antennae are ready to go.
Alright, the finishing details are all on. I've got on my lashes, I've got on these little Star Sparkle stickers, and I am so excited for this photo shoot. We have to get on the wig and the antennas and the outfit and take you to set, so let's go!